All right, so one of the apps I use the most is a little app called Notion. This singular app right here is how I'm able to balance being a college student who's also a Linux distro developer, who also is a YouTuber, who also does freelance work for other YouTubers. And Notion to me is basically my second brain. It's how I'm able to basically manage my life. That said, when I was making my web apps video, people were telling me I should be cautious of Notion. There's been times where Notion has screwed up and people have lost all their notes, and that I should really be going for something that lets me store my notes locally. And I'm gonna be honest, they're fully correct. But the problem is most people have been recommending Obsidian, and Obsidian is not a complete Notion alternative, at least for me. Now, a lot of people recommending Obsidian think that Notion is exclusively a notes app, but as you can see right here, I'm using it for quite a bit beyond notes. Not just for stillOS here, but also for YouTube too. And so I was getting a little bit annoyed, to be honest, of people recommending me Obsidian. But then, fun fact, I actually work for Michael Tennell, who does the This Week in Linux show, and I edit the This Week in Linux show. So I talked to him a lot, and he was telling me that he loves Obsidian. And I was like, well, can it do all of this stuff that I do in Notion? And he's like, a database? Yeah. A Kanban board? Yeah. Maybe Obsidian is more than just a notes app. Maybe I should actually give it a shot. Now, I do like Obsidian for a lot of things, but I'm still going to have to be using Notion. But I actually am now going to be incorporating both into my workflow. So for those who don't know, Obsidian's a note-taking app. Hello, YouTube. This is a note. One of the things I love about Obsidian the most is, despite being a Electron app, it is very, very fast. Like, the interface just completely flies, especially compared to Notion, which is a fully web app. So like, because it's a web app, there's just slowdown and things like that, some stutter between like trying to access tasks. By the way, if you're wondering how I have a dedicated app for Notion, because Notion doesn't have a Linux app, this integrated web app integration is a feature of my Linux distro, stillOS. Go check it out. And then another thing about Obsidian is that all of your notes are just a Markdown file that is on your computer. And because of that, if Obsidian were to go away tomorrow, I would still have access to all my notes as they're just local files on my computer. Even if I added something complicated like, I don't know, a header. I didn't mean to open it with OnlyOffice here. I meant to open it with my text editor. You can open your notes with literally any program that can handle Markdown files, which there's quite a few different programs that can do that. Now, that said, a lot of people think that Obsidian is open source software. In fact, I've probably had people recommending it to me thinking it's open source software. It is not. However, even though it doesn't give you source code freedom, it does give you a lot of freedom in how you can use the app. For example, they do have their own syncing service that is able to sync your notes across a Obsidian account. And I was considering to buy it because Notion I heavily use on my phone, even though I'm on the free plan, and I need my notes app to be able to work across my phone and my PC and be cloud synced. I don't think I'm going to be using Obsidian enough to purchase it just yet, but maybe I will in the future. That said, because these are all just Markdown files and actual files on your computer, even advanced Notion features like canvases, if you already have something like iCloud or Google Drive or Dropbox and it's already syncing stuff on your computer, you can actually use another cloud service in order to have all your notes sync across your devices. In fact, the Obsidian app for iOS actually natively supports doing that with iCloud. Now, that said, I am still going to be using Notion, but I think I'm also going to be using Obsidian too. I think I must start using both. So to show you what I have on my Notion, I'm just going to show you a few things because I have a lot in my Notion. But first off, I have this little development database of everything I need to do for stillOS. So any idea I have or planned feature gets put in here. And I'm able to keep track of the status of a feature. So it could either already be in Git, or it could be in a snapshot of the stillOS Edge branch, which means it's being tested, or it's in production and it's complete. And then I have the component of stillOS the feature would have to be written for. I have whatever the scope of the feature is. And doing that, it just makes it very easy for me to manage development of stillOS and keep track of things, because when I'm sitting down and deciding to do work for stillOS, all I have to do is go to this page and I already have all the tasks in front of me. And even certain components, and I don't want to scroll down because I don't want to leak stuff for 10.2, but I can sit down and say, hey, I'm working on Still Explorer, and I'm not going to sort because it'll show 10.2 tasks, but then I could sort it by all of the tasks I have specifically for that component and then just sit down and get all of them done at once. Now, for my YouTube channel, and I don't want to leak all my video ideas, so I'm going to scroll away, but on this side right here, I have just every idea I come up with for YouTube I put in this Kanban right here. And then I have the ones that I'm just committing on recording editing for the next week because I'm doing 3 videos a week. And then I have slide/script finished. I actually finished this video already. I have recorded, I've edited, I've published. So it just helps me keep track of the content I'm working on. And then finally, the last thing I'm going to show off, and I did zoom in my Notion just to not leak stillHQ 10.2 stuff, but I also just have a weekly to-do list where every Saturday night I plan on what I'm going to do throughout the entire week. So I look ahead at all my school assignments, just anything I need to end up doing. And then I schedule everything out for a week. Now, for the Linux users watching this, an analogy that Michael Tennell told me when he was telling me about Obsidian was Notion is like KDE, very customizable, and you can do everything throughout the standard user interface, but you don't have 100% complete control because you're still limited to Notion or limited to the KDE desktop, what it lets you do. Whereas Obsidian is like a tiling window manager where you have to build it out all yourself, you need to get different components of things, and it has a bit more of a learning curve. And with that, pretty much all of the bare basic functionality is made for note-taking. But we head over to settings, community plugins right here. There's a whole subset of community plugins that completely expand what you could do within Obsidian. For example, if you want to be able to draw inside your notes, you can grab XCaliDraw. And then now I have a XCaliDraw whiteboard completely just built into my Obsidian instance, which is pretty cool. That said, though, there is a huge learning difficulty, and I haven't been able to exactly achieve everything I've done in Notion. Now, the to-do list and Kanban feature, I really like how this works in Obsidian. So I'm using this community plugin right here called Kanban, and it's just really smooth. I'm able to have checkboxes for my tasks and do all that. And with that, I'm able to have my YouTube ideas in here too. Although, unfortunately, it isn't color-coded like my Notion board is. That isn't a deal breaker, just having specific colors for each status just helps me be able to focus a little bit more just by having a little bit more visual distinction. But yeah, I was able to get my YouTube ideas and my to-do list working using this little Kanban plugin. That said, the stillHQ development task thing, I have not found a replacement for Obsidian that I can actually figure out how to use. Now, Obsidian has a feature called bases, but I just cannot figure out how to use bases because Notion, you can create a specific database that is only available to a certain page, whereas this could be 100% user error, but I just cannot figure out how to actually get this to a specific database because it seems to use the files you have behind your Obsidian setup as your database. So what I think is going on here is it's using the files as the database essentially, and so the base is just a display view for all your files, and then I would have to go into make a filter basically. So file path maybe starts with YouTube. So you can kind of make a makeshift database kind of like this, I think, and then you can make functions for your database too. The thing is, when I already have Notion, which right here works completely fine, I'm not trying to basically spend my time trying to program my own database for this the way I have to do in Obsidian. I want my programming work to be on my actual programming work, such as stillHQ, rather than my notes app. Now, there is this community plugin called Data View, but now the problem we're having is this extracts data from Markdown pages. So basically, for every single thing I have in my Notion database right here, on Notion, I just click new and I can make a new one. I put in the item name, I put the status right here, whatever, it's pretty easy. Whereas with this, it seems like I'd have to create a whole new Markdown file and write Markdown code in order to just get a task on here. And then to even get a display, I'm writing code basically that is similar to SQL slightly. Just slightly, it isn't SQL syntax. But the point is, I'm not trying to be a programmer to use my notes app. Now, there's a ton of community plugins. Maybe there's some random community plugin that I'm just missing that can achieve this functionality. But like I said, I'm not trying to basically learn how to set up a window manager on Linux for the first time in order to do work that I already have perfectly fine in Notion. Now, that said, this is not just a video crapping on Obsidian because there's a lot of things about Obsidian that I really like, and I'm going to continue and use Obsidian for notes. I am nearing the end of my current college semester, but next semester of college, I will definitely be using Obsidian for note-taking because, like I said earlier, it's just really fast. But then we also get the graph view feature, and it's a little cluttered here, so we'll switch it to be only inside of YouTube for now. But I'm working on a couple videos about Ubuntu and Fedora because they both come out next week, and I'm talking about them as a platform, and I'm discussing both of them as distribution platforms rather than just standalone distributions. And so I've been planning out those videos and I have notes on that, and I was able to basically connect like my whole idea of Linux platforms to these two videos. And so imagine this for a school assignment. Like I have some complicated science class that has all these different things I need to learn. I can link all of these notes together on what I need to know and like what things I need to use here, and then have a whole overview of the concept inside of this graph view right here. This is an awesome feature. And this one feature alone is going to be why I will be doing my class notes next semester of college inside of Obsidian. And it's also just really fast and a great experience for writing Markdown. So I think I will be using this now to just write out, I don't use scripts, but write out YouTube bullet points. And just anytime I need to do writing, it's going to be done in Obsidian now instead of Notion. Also, like I said, the Kanban plugin works great. I may continue to do that for my weekly to-do list. Although right now I still am using Notion for that because I can actually update my to-do list from my phone using Notion because I don't have Cloud Sync set up and I don't want to pay yet. I'm a broke college student. Now another use case for Notion that I'm not personally using but that can't really be switched to Obsidian at all is Notion has collaboration features. So if I had a team of people helping me with this channel, they can all move stuff on this board and even assign things to each other, and it really helps with coordination. With that said though, now I'm just going to end up using both because I see all the drawbacks of Notion and I see all the pros of Obsidian, and it's making it so for certain pieces of work Obsidian's better for me and for certain pieces of work Notion's better for me. So I guess now if Notion's my second brain, then Obsidian's my third brain. With all that though, there is a open source alternative to Notion called AppFlowy. So potentially in the future I may do a video on that, but that'll have to be when I'm out of a dorm and I can actually self-host things right now without dealing with the university restrictions on the Wi-Fi. But eventually I will try AppFlowy and see if that can replace Notion for me, which would be cool if something open source could replace the Notion. With that, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, you may like my polarizing video about why Linux distros should adopt web apps, which is what I'm doing for stillOS. Also, I'm trying to hit 10K by the end of May, so help that happen. Consider checking out my Patreon, and I'll see you guys in the next video.